Good afternoon. Welcome to the March 21st, 1:30 p.m. City Council meeting. At this time, we'll stand for the pledge and prayer by Councilman Uli. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you for today. Father, we thank you for all of our blessings. Father, legs that walk and brought us in, eyes that see, ears that hear. Father, we thank you for all the things that are right about this city. This council asks for your wisdom as we deal with those things that are not. Grant us your wisdom and insight. Father, we lift up our first responders to you as their jobs are inherently dangerous, that you will grant them your divine protection.
Yes.
So accomplish your will here in this meeting today. We give you all the praise and glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Milton. And at this time, we will have questions and comments from any citizen that would like to speak. And I see none, so we'll move on to the city manager's monthly report.
So I know we've got kind of a lengthy agenda, so I'll try to, expedite this a little from what we normally do. But if you look at the financial side, we're still doing quite well. Revenues in the general fund are tracking a little above our budget numbers, and revenues still remain below, expenditures remain below budget, and we're still within the 5-year average of those, so that's looking good. Same thing in the water. Revenue still over expenditures, revenue still above the 5-year average as we continue to see increased water use by our industrial partners. Expenditures, again, are still a little above the 5-year average too, because as we produce more water, there's more cost to produce that water. But we're still over budget in revenue and under budget in expenditures, so that's still a positive side there. If you look at sales tax is still trending up over last year. We're collecting more than we did, and we're over our budget in both for that and above the 5-year average, so we're continuing to see strong economic indicators in our sales tax. Hotel motel occupancy is still doing well. We're over the budget amount so far this year, and we're still well above the 5-year average. I know that they're full right now. The auditors here this week, and they were unable to get a room at their normal Best Western, so they're in a small Airbnb in town this week while they're here. So we're seeing a lot of demand for hotel stays at this point. As we go through our departments, planning development is getting ready for Kathy's retirement after 26 years. At the end of this month, Naomi's in the back with Shelby and Larry back there, so that's our personnel change going there. We're getting ready for a growing season to start when we get with code enforcement, so probably in the next month or so we'll see the code enforcement notifications going back out in the water bills, making sure people know what they're responsible for. We'll be gearing up for mosquito season too, which at this point, as dry as it's been, I think we might be willing to put up with a few mosquitoes to get a little bit of water. They've also been working with Tidal Wave. The car wash is under construction, and Starbucks is progressing into their final phase. Of course, HR, she is getting busy with all the summer park rec hires and lifeguard hires, and those jobs are posting, and some that's going on with EMS that we'll talk about when we get into the fire section. We also are getting ready for 4 retirements this month. So in addition to Kathy, Scott Raddick is retiring at the end of the month, and y'all are aware of that. But Tommy Coburn's retiring in the police department after 20 years with the city, and Sheila in finance is retiring. And we're also getting ready for our wellness fair the first week of May, so that's our opportunity to get the employees together and have some of their preventative screening done on site and help them try to get their health bonus, so that should be good. Of course, the benefit there is if we can identify health issues early, they're a lot cheaper to treat than if you let them go. In utilities, we're still waiting to get on the schedule for the hydro company that's doing the next test holes as we continue to try to find the locations for the 2 new water wells we're working on. The new vacuum truck is still scheduled for delivery in July. I haven't told the chief this, but I've got a question into that, but we just got the latest update on the patrol Tahoes is now showing a production in August. So that will have been almost 22-month delivery.
Wow.
So we're still, I've asked to clarify that, but so the hydro truck's at least still on task. And of course, with the completion of the Main Street Sewer Project, the sewer crews are quite happy as the sewer is now flowing without any daily vacuuming of manholes for the first time in 4 years. So we've got an item on our agenda today to start the engineering for the next kind of sewer project, which is nice that we're now being able to be proactive on those replacements and not quite so reactive. Emergency management's been busy this last month as well. Y'all saw some of the draft of the master drainage plan at our work session 2 weeks ago, so they're working on getting that implemented into our plan as we start to work through some of the stormwater projects. They've also been working with the LEPC on some of the Tokai emission issues that the LEPC is dealing with, and that meeting's coming up at the Dome. There is spotter training tonight at 6 p.m. at the Dome for anyone that wants to go hear the presentation from the Weather Service and become storm ready and certified as a weather spotter through the Weather Service. In IT, they worked to implement the new phone system, so we're still working on some programming issues with that and stuff, but that seems to be going mostly pretty well. If you recall, we've eliminated some direct dial numbers because one thing that I was really concerned with is we had a lot of employees with direct dial numbers and voicemail boxes that aren't in their office very often. So if a citizen called the wrong number and left a voicemail, they might think that their problem was getting handled, but it might sit in that voicemail. So we've done away with that. We've had a little bit of growing pains where some people might be a little upset that their phone call was never answered. But I'd rather the phone call not be answered and then know their problem isn't being handled yet than to leave a message and think it's been handled, but it actually hasn't. But Linda's been working through taking all of those calls as we get back to a little streamlined process. Again, our goal is just to have one number. If you need something for the city, this is the number you call and we'll route you appropriately. But we're working through that. And it is time for cybersecurity training again. That's state mandated, so at our April work session, y'all will get to go through all of that again. But if it makes you feel any better, all 164 city employees get to go through it too. So that's, you know, be mindful of what you're clicking in your emails.
What date is that on?
It'll be the April 4th work session.
You're not sick that day.
No, I might be out of town. No, seriously.
Well, then you can get the link and you can watch the video and take the test on your own. There are ways to get around that, but you can't get out of it. The police department, animal control has been busy keeping up with building maintenance, and they also have been working on the Maple Street issue that was brought up at the last council meeting. Since that meeting, we have caught 30 cats from that residence.
Really?
And we've been working to find them homes when they're adoptable and dealing with them appropriately when they aren't. The police academy recruit, our new recruit, started the police academy yesterday. So we've got one through that. And with one in the hiring process, we're down to
How many were short?
2.
2.
So that's, on the positive side, that's the most positive we've been
Yeah.
A long time.
in quite a while. So we're making progress there as well. Also, they did get to utilize the STEP grant that they were awarded over spring break to help special traffic enforcement. So I think everybody's kind of been seeing those out. Officer Woods and Officer Bliss finished their motorcycle certification course through TEEX down there. And so I know that if you haven't been out much, the motorcycles have definitely been much more visible since we've gotten those officers certified. So that's good. I even noticed, I know they're doing good when during spring break, when the school zone lights weren't even flashing, everybody was still going 20 on Cedar Street.
And the warning to ticket ratio is still very generous.
Still depending on the month and the number of tickets, somewhere between 10 and 15%. So
Right.
that's, you know, for every 2 tickets, there's 8 warnings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Captain Sims' hard work too, the FAA did issue our drone certificate of authorization, so we now have all of that and are fully functional in our drone program to provide assistance with that. Sergeant Ginter also worked in getting a grant and supporting the alert training that was held over spring break, which is the active shooter. So the PD, most of the PD, the SODPS, and 8 other outside agencies were able to send students through that class. And he's already got a grant for another round later this summer. So we're definitely trying to stay up with that. They had the wait list for this last class was almost enough to fill up another class, which I think was probably part of the reason we were able to justify that funding for the second class. So it's good to see us working with all those other agencies and making sure that that training is available. In finance, of course, you know, Terry has started this month transitioning before Scott leaves, and what 3 weeks she's had. She got thrown in with the middle of us kind of working on 2 audits all at the same time, but there's no better way to learn the financial organization of the city than to have to pull all sorts of information and answer all sorts of questions and get dragged through it. But they're doing quite well, and we appreciate Scott's hard work on that too, knowing that it might be easy to want to skip all of that with only a week and a half left to go. But
Yeah, really.
I also did joke with him, I guess that also reminds him why he decided that it was time to retire, because he didn't want to have to do another audit again.
Yeah.
So I'll be surprised if in his retirement he does an audit, but if he does, we'll try to help find him some help.
Yeah.
Public Works, of course, the youth center's getting geared up for the summer season and have been working on that. They've also had a pretty good turnout over spring break. They had some different things going on and different events for the kids to do during spring break. They're still hosting their weekly pickleball. So on Fridays and Saturdays, if anybody wants to play pickleball, it's there. Because it's kind of a low-pace cross between tennis and ping pong. It's the leadership Borger we took through there, and they played some pickleball and was interested in some of that. So we rock climbed and they played pickleball. That's always the funnest thing they get to do when they tour the city. So better than, I guess, looking at the wastewater plant.
Yeah, for sure.
In parks, we do have the parts ordered for the new doors and replacements at Huber Park bathroom. We're still waiting on those to get in, but they are ordered. Streets is about 75% prepped for seal
Will
coating.
those be locked at a certain time, did you say? Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get the magnetic locks back working. And so, like we talked about, originally when that was set, they had the timed magnetic locks, but over the years that it's
Wow.
kind of worn down and those doors have kind of started to rust. And so I think that will help a lot of the problems. We'll put the graffiti resistant paint back in and kind of get them spruced back up. We've been going through all the sports lightings and all the different fields. That's been a kind of an electrical process, but I think we've almost got all that working. Hopefully based on what we spent, but there have definitely been some issues with that. They're also going to, we know 7th Street, we're getting ready, so we've awarded the bid for the downtown revitalization project, which will be the sidewalks in the 700 block. Once that's done, one of the reasons we save money on that is we said we'd patch the asphalt where the new curb and stuff is going in. When we do that, we're also going to mill down the intersection of 7th and Main and redo that. So I know that's a problem. I know you all know that's a problem. That's why we're not doing anything with it yet, because when we come in to do all of that, we're going to completely redo that intersection. They did get 5th Street patched where the sewer replacement was done. And of course, we're going to go ahead and seal coat all of 5th Street as part of the seal coating project this year. So it'll kind of get a consistent coating with that. The contract will be on your next agenda for the seal coating project. Missouri Petroleum was the low bidder on that through the Park Hill Regional Intercooperative Project.
They've done a lot of seal coating.
And so we'll be able to do seal coating a little quicker this way, and we got a pretty decent price on that. So that'll be, like I said, at your next agenda for approval. Solid waste, I think Deidre wants to put a little shout out to Wayne's, helped her with a lot of different things here lately, both the dumpster art, getting those dumpsters set in there for the kids to paint and get those set. And then also with the garage sale, we'll talk a little more about that, but we set up the bulk waste trailer there, so if things didn't sell and you wanted to dispose of it, it was right there. Luckily, not too much of that went. I think most of it, they were nice and gave it to the Salvation Army. I think the Salvation Army was very appreciative. So as part of that community garage sale of what you didn't sell, you could either take it home, you could put it in the bulk waste dumps trailer for disposal, or you could donate it to the Salvation Army. And
Yeah, he was wonderful. Made sure everything was done efficiently and just took care of everything.
And they're also getting ready, of course, we've got extra dumpsters going out to St. John's for the spaghetti dinner to support all of that. That is a big enough community event that generates lots of trash, as apparently a lot of this county eats spaghetti. With public engagement, we did have the dumpster art contest, so those dumpsters are out. They're out in front of the fire department and back around the side of CVS, the newest 3 dumpsters, and so those kids did a really good job with that. Talk about maybe doing that one more time in the summer now that COVID's over. think they definitely probably enjoyed being in the dome this time around, because last time they did it, it was still the old dome, so I think some light and some air conditioning or heat probably made that much more comfortable. We do have an upcoming event in Easter. We're doing a glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt this year with a movie in the park, so
That's pretty cool.
we wanted to be a little different, and Isaac out at the youth center, that was his idea, so I think that'll be pretty cool and make it a little different than kind of what everybody else does.
They're doing great out there, with Deidre's help, coming up with ideas and things to do, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's working with Deidre. Like I said, we're getting pretty close to trying out our first podcast. We've got the podcast equipment set up down in the basement, so we're gonna start working on some of that. You laugh, but I'm sure that.
No, she's already hit me up. I was laughing.
I was about to say, there's probably a cool coach segment in there somewhere, comments with the coach or, something like that.
I don't think they would like it.
Like I said, next week, we're gonna start pushing the Borger app that's up and ready to go, so we're gonna start seeing some more about that. Deidre also has training for the film-friendly certification, so we should be getting close to having that, which is really just kind of a state database for movie producers and stuff like that to find places to shoot. So since we do have Yellowstone and some of that going on down at the 4-6, it's kind of nice to springboard off of that. We're also working on an application that was provided through the Texas Historical Commission, which is part of the Texas, that hosts the Texas Main Street program that we were able to get our provisional status with. The Smithsonian is looking at doing a tour of rural main streets. And so if we can get that, that would kind of be cool. The Smithsonian would come in and do an exhibit on our history, but then also bring an exhibit of some of their stuff for a couple of weeks in the summer, I think. So we're working on that. That'd be kind of cool if we could get the Smithsonian here. And while we can't release it yet, we do finally have a headliner inked and contracted for Boomtoberfest in October. So the rest of our planning and all of that for our big signature event at the Dome, big concert series, we're getting finally closer to that. In courts, and City Secretary was Stella, April 6th is our next court date for quarterly court, so we'll have court there. And then, of course, she's busy getting ready for the election while the election cancellation is on the agenda for the city. Since we have only unopposed candidates, the school district does have opposition. And so, of course, we do administer and run the election for the school district. So Stella's busy in getting all of that work done.
Wow.
The fire department emailed me theirs because they're at the conference this week, so that didn't get through their normal stuff. But they were able to participate in the BHS Career Day. And then they had 2 crews, and the admin participated in the trauma-informed training that was at the Dome. It was hosted by the Hutchinson County United Way. We talked about that coming up, I think, at our last one. They also, as always, hosted lunch for Leadership Borger. And so that's always a nice stop to visit with the firemen, and then they get to eat their lunch while they're looking at really big, bright red things. They also participated in packing March for Snack Pack for Kids, so they went up there and helped fill all of those snack packs. We have 5 new Texas Commission on Fire Protection certifications amongst department members, and they also had their annual Texas Commission on Fire Protection inspection, and they passed that without any violations. With that, we did get our ISO 2 reconfirmed by the ISO organization, so we'll continue with no insurance impact on that. In Wildland, TDM's finally paid us for all of our outstanding invoices. So they've caught up with that, and then they've also just agreed to do another burn project for Phillips 66. They're still waiting on their 2 new grass rigs that are on order, one to replace the one that was wrecked. We're hoping to have that one pretty soon. And then with EMS, we're still progressing pretty good on that. I've got pictures that y'all can see. They did complete the factory final inspection of the 2 trucks that we've ordered. So they're on their way to Dallas for graphics. So they should be here within hopefully the next 2 weeks. They'll go to Lubbock first and get the cots installed. We have posted those positions for EMT advanced, and paramedics. So we're looking to hire 6 EMTs, 6 paramedics, and 3 EMTs. Right now, we have 11 paramedic applications for those 6 positions, and we're up to, I think, 12 EMT applications for those 3 positions. So we should be in pretty good shape to get staff. We need to get them on so they can take their protocol tests. And then at some point, I've warned Mike and Jeff both that we want to have an open house both in Borger and Fritch once we get that staff figured out and get the trucks in, kind of let people come, see, ask questions, and get acclimated to what EMS service will be like once Borger Fire starts providing that. But that's what we've done in the last month. Any questions?
No.
Looked like you were busy.
It's
Yeah.
been a busy month.
Okay, if there's nothing else, then we'll move on to the consent items, 6 through 11. If there's any questions or comments or anything, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve consent items 6 through 11.
Second.
And all in favor? And it passes. Item number 12, hold a public hearing to conduct an appeal from Alfred and Kenya Oleman on the order for demolition issued by the Building Standards Commission for 631 Deal, Lot 1-2, Block 30, original town site, and then consider and take appropriate action on Resolution R-009-23, condemning the structure and ordering any and all occupants to vacate. Mr. Byrd.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So Ms. Alleman is here today for her appeal. Want to give a little history on this. We brought this structure to building standards back in September. I believe in the second meeting after that, Ms. Alleman did show up from California, which we were very impressed that she made the trip from California out. Although since then, it's been her brother is the only one that has attended meetings. And in that whole progress from September till February, we tried to get them to provide the board with some kind of bids from contractors or something to make the repair. One of the biggest things with this building is over half of the roof is completely gone. I believe y'all can see that in your pictures. You know, it's got some other issues, but the major cost there is the roof. So I do ask that y'all uphold the building decisions order for demolition. And other than that, I'll be out here if y'all have any questions.
Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and open for a public hearing. If anyone has anything they'd like to talk on or speak or anything.
Hello, my name is Rosa Long, and I am here to let you know that I did or have been in communications with him for a purchase of this property, and I would like to ask for an extension to be able to get the bids and stuff for the roof and the repairs that are needed, because the property is more important to me as it is to be fixed than it would be to be demolished.
Okay, so I guess I'm understanding that you are talking to them about purchasing it?
Yes.
But you haven't done that yet,
Right.
you're waiting to find out what it's gonna
Well,
cost to be
that's,
repaired?
we had talked to him about purchasing it, and I got a notice about this meeting, and I didn't realize that it was, going to be destroyed, so that's why I'm here to ask if it would be possible to provide us an extension so we could close this deal and start working on the building.
Okay.
Have-
Anyone have anything else?
Have we been communicating with her about that building?
I've had no contact with this
Okay,
lady.
you just been
I
with
just
the
got
owner?
one letter about this meeting recently, and I'm not even sure how my name got put on the letter, but we were talking about purchasing this property. We were talking to them, so.
That is one thing I forgot to mention. So when there's an appeal, we are supposed to notify every property owner within 200 feet of that property, and that is one of the things that we did. We sent out 18 letters, and out of them 18 letters, we did get 2 responses, and them responses was they were both in favor of demolition.
Okay.
And so I'm assuming this, where she got her letter, I believe she does own some property adjacent to that area.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to really look at that building?
I have. I
And-
know. It
And you
needs a lot
want
of
to try
work.
to, the cinder blocks, that building's been there for a long time.
I would like to, yes, I'm aware that it needs a lot of work.
So, and I would put out there that if it was to go that direction, because of it being a flat roof, that the rafters are gonna have to attach to the center blocks,
Yeah.
that she's gonna have to have some kind of engineered plans for that, because anytime you attach a top plate to top of the center block like that, it has to be, it has to be engineered, designed, or we're gonna find the roof system blown off. I don't know if y'all remember, we've had 2 or 3 incidents along 10th Street where that's happened over the years, and that's a big reason why, is because they were not properly attached. And so, I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, we saw that in your report, that, that they would have to have an engineering, were you aware of that?
I just came back into town, I was out of town, and had been relocated to the Corpus Christi area, so I haven't been back very long. So I haven't had an opportunity to get any engineering reports done or anything like that. I just know that I had talked to the owners, and they were interested in selling, and I was interested in buying. But before we close this deal, I'd like to know, I'd like an opportunity to work on this.
Okay, so on, you really, when you got the letter is when you decided, because it was going to be, that you wanted to go ahead and try to purchase it at that point?
We had talked to them before.
Oh, you had?
So, Ms. Long, you're here as a potential buyer.
Yes.
Right.
And you got this letter because we are going out and letting people around the owner's building have input. Okay.
Excuse me.
I'm not an engineer, but having seen the pictures, it is beyond, how to say this fairly, it is unfathomable to me that it can be repaired. I think you would be better off seeing the owners deal with the demolition of that building, because the square footage is so small that to put a roof on that, it would be just totally cost prohibitive. You're better off starting from the ground level up, okay? So I'm gonna let you know I am not disposed to delaying this order of demolition. I think you would be wasting your time, and I think if you had any architects at all take a look at it, they would tell you the same thing.
Well, that's all I can do is ask.
Yes, and I hear you. I can't imagine it. Now, I will qualify myself and say I am not a structural engineer, but I know a little bit about buildings. And I cannot see a financially plausible way of salvaging that building. That kind of money that would take to do that would be money better spent on new construction.
What were you looking to do with that building?
We were going to use it as an office warehouse.
An office warehouse?
It is in bad shape. I looked through the windows and the cracks, the cinder blocks that are cracked. Like I said, it would be better if you bought that property, just start from ground up, and you'd be better off having a more
It'd be
secure
less
building.
expensive, yeah.
Okay,
All right.
well, like I said, all I could do was ask.
All right.
Yeah, I would recommend tearing it down and going with a metal construction. That's what I was just asking here, if we could do that in the city limits, and he said we can. So I think a metal building would be more economical, in my personal opinion, for whatever it's worth.
Okay.
Yeah, to me, it's not salvageable, and I would think our building, and so many people have already made that determination, and they're more qualified than I am.
Even the mortar between the bricks and stuff is, what's there doesn't look real great.
Yeah, and so what happens there when they lost that roof, that top cap becomes exposed, and all that moisture just goes down through the
Freeze
center
crack, freeze
blocks.
crack.
And so, it has weakened that wall. Now, could that be repaired? Yes, probably so, but once again, it's at a cost
Right.
that's, And honestly, that's what we come up with in our mind is, the only thing it can be used for is basically a storage. And with the amount of money that you're gonna have to put into it to fix it, and I will tell you that I had a local contractor, kind of tell me what his part of just the roof alone, and just the roof alone, without any engineering designs or any other work, was $15,000, just, you know, so, you know, you're looking at 25,000 minimum to get it.
Yeah, and the square footage is just not very big, Rosa.
Yeah, it's
I don't think it would be in your interest.
So I just have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you demolish the building, is that going to entail taking up all the cement that is out in front, you know, because there's a lot of cement? So are you just gonna clear the lot completely, or are you just gonna get rid of the building?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not ready to make that decision at this time, and I apologize, I mean, there's a lot that factors into that, and.
If you're wanting to do something with the concrete on top of it, I'm not saying we will, or I'm not saying we won't, but that could be a conversation that we could have
entertain.
Okay.
as we get close to that. I'm not opposed to, if somebody's got a use for the property, I mean, we want to increase our code compliance and make sure that we have safe structures in our community, but we also want to work with our community to develop it. And so if that, you know, if we feel that it's structurally safe to do so, and we would be willing to have that conversation with you to make something work if we can.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
My turn?
Sure.
Oh, boy, it seems you have already condemned it.
The building and standards has,
Okay, well, I'm here to appeal, although
And
I
you're the owner
hear.
right now? I mean, you're Mrs.
Is it,
Ullman-
is it,
Ullman.
do I need to be closer?
No, you're fine.
No, I
I'm
just want to
fine?
make sure
Okay.
that's who you.
All right. I'm here to appeal it. I have looked at I have seen, what? Okay. I have called different contractors, and the first one I called was Emmons Roofing. He came to check it out, and he did a good look throughout the building. I did ask him to check the structure, the integrity of the structure. He said it was a very good building, that it was a sound structure, and that as long as we did the roof and the windows, that it was going to be fine. There is some mortar coming off of the joints of some of the blocks, but he said that was not a major thing, that he would also do that. Now, that is, his cost is prohibitive for me. It's $50,000. However, I did go to other contractors, one here in town being, let me see who, Pinnacle Builders. He is off of 204 Garrett Street, and he did give me a proposal, which I have right here for you to see it. He quoted me $10,000. That's not, that is doable, and since, you know, Emmons Roofing already told me that the structure of the building is not compromised, I think that would be a really great way to go. Now, I also have contacted Mr. Stanley A. Franks. He has several buildings in this, he owns several buildings in this town. He will buy it as is, and he will repair it. So I have, you know, either or to present to you. We fix it. We fix the roof, and the windows have been boarded per your request. And or we sell it to Mr. Franks. But I think it's salvageable.
My question again, did they look at the cinder blocks? Did they walk around and look at those blocks? Because
Well-
if they did, they would said something beside the roof, beside the roof. The roof is a problem, but those cinder blocks, let me just say this. That building's been there ever since I was in junior high. And it's been vacant for a long time. But the cinder blocks on that building, they're gonna have to replace a lot of them. They can put a roof on there, but it's a 50-50 chance that building probably collapse because those cinder blocks are cracked.
So you would say that Mr. Ammon gave me the wrong?
No, I'm not
no.
saying that. I'm looking at what I looked at. Did they look at anything beside the roof?
He did. He walked it through.
And if he did,
walked
and
inside.
he's giving you that low cost,
No.
Mr. Hammond was
That
50,000.
was 50,000.
And I
The
think
the
that-
guy that did look
I
all
think that's the
over
reason he
place.
was so high, because those blocks are cracked. And if you don't replace them, putting a roof on there, it's not gonna help that building. I mean, it's not gonna help it. It's just gonna put more pressure on that area that's cracked. And
Okay.
I wouldn't wanna be in that building.
Yeah, I understand where you're
Yeah.
coming from. Well, let's say that we don't fix it, we sell it. Mr. Franks has bought several buildings in the same conditions, and he is ready and willing to buy it.
Well, even if he buy it and we make a decision on it, I mean,
To
We-
be
we-
quite frank, Mr. Franks owns some buildings that have not been repaired, that need to be repaired. So personally, I would not, and maybe I'm out of, not,
He's
shouldn't
facing
speak
3
that
code
way.
enforcement.
But he already has
Complaints right now.
issues, so we can't.
Oh, he
that-
already
that
has
would not-
issues with the city?
absolutely, That would
Yes.
not be,
Are his buildings also going to be demolished?
well, there.
If they are not up to standard and we
know
go
that. I
through
mean-
all the due process, that is a possibility.
And
His buildings
also,
include the
does
old
he-
hotel right here.
Yeah, the one right in front of
Does-
our property, which
And
has
does
been there forever.
Does Pinco Building, did he understand that he had to get an engineer involved? I mean, I'm wondering, did he, because that was listed on, you actually know that you have to get an engineer involved because it was in your paperwork. Did Pinco realize that when he gave you a $10,000 quote? That he has to get an engineer involved?
Well, I'm not sure, but he is a contractor and he did come to see it, so
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he would have seen what was involved.
Okay. I just didn't know if he, understood what the city would be requiring as well. I mean, because he will have to come and get permits anyway, so,
Yeah, he did quote me that. He did say with the permits and everything, it would, that's how much he
and
would charge
it's a
us.
possibility, I think, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, that he wouldn't be able to even get permits without engineering, that's, I mean,
Yeah,
You
it-
see what I'm saying?
with these type of roofs and a complete redo like that, then that's a decision as me as the building standard, the
Absolutely.
building official has to make. And that's based on past performances of other structures. And that is something that I've asked for in other buildings as well. Just because I can't just make that call on my own on that type of attachment. And I think that's pretty standard across different building officials.
And Larry, can you kind of just, maybe for the people that are listening, kind of go through how many times that this has been in front of the building standards? I mean, it's been addressed
Yeah,
very.
I get that. I have
Okay.
only been here twice, but I understand.
Yeah.
I am,
But I just wanted, people to understand, because, when we do make a decision, we want to know that things have been considered. A lot of things have been considered.
Right, and so, like I stated before, this started back in September, and I think you came at the October meeting. And then after that, it's been her brother. And the only month that we did not have a meeting was in November.
In all of these delays, did any work get done to the roof or anything? I mean, was there,
I do believe that they put some plywood on one window frame. Last I looked, that was not painted like we had asked for during that process. And
yeah, and I drove by yesterday and it was not.
right, so that's, and in several of the meetings, we asked for what she is providing you now,
Exactly.
and we didn't get it back then.
Well, I appreciate your speaking. Well, I have it now, and I understand that we are very delayed, and I understand that. It is a nuisance now to come and have to talk to me again about this. I understand that this is something you guys need out of your to-dos. My brother and I bought this building, about 10 years ago, I want to say. It's not an investment that my husband and I came up with, because we don't live here. We just helped my brother buy it because he had plans for it. Now he has, I don't know if he has not, if he has been dealt bad cards, or if he has played his cards the wrong way. That's not for me to judge. But he was in charge of all this, and his little baby came down with cancer. He's having to deal with that. And then his kids got taken away right after this, the meeting that we had. He's having to deal with that. He's gonna hold a meeting with CPS on April to see if they come back to him. But that's the reason why he didn't make it to the February meeting. I believe that's when you guys decided to demolish it. And I would just have it demolished, because to me it's more of a headache for me. But we need to sell it because he needs that money for the lawyer. We don't need the building. I mean, I don't need it. I don't even need my money back because I did it just to help him out. But we just need to sell it for whatever we can get so he can have some money to help. I mean, I'm sure that you guys are aware of it. He works for the city. And if there is an HR department with you, they would know what he's been going through. And that's all I'm asking, just the chance to sell it to Mr. Franks, get it out of our hand, and just give my brother some money. I have not been, or tried to be dismissive with the city. That has not been my intention.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? Larry, anything? Anyone have any other questions or anything?
Nope, I don't.
I just think that it boils down to the money that, whether it was them or the next person having to put into that building.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like it's, as one of you already stated, for the size of it, there's, I mean,
Right.
just doesn't seem
And I mean, that
economical
is
to me.
one of the things that we need to also consider is to protect future people from buying something that they're gonna get themselves overhead. And all three of these guys pretty much talked to that about they're gonna get over their head in it. And, we do need to protect our citizens from that as well, I think.
And besides us taking it to building standards, this piece of property is been in our scope of work for several years now, back when the Borger Beautification Committee was first brought to us. They brought that to us, and we have visited with Victor, which is her brother, on several occasions and begged and pleaded. One of the things that was going on there was he was salvaging, and that drawed attention there, and by our zoning ordinances, that use was not allowed to salvage inside the city limits. Has to be done by a specific use permit that would be issued by y'all. And to my knowledge, we have only ever had one of them, and that was over on Florida Street. So there is some history there that brought all this to our attention. In no form or fashion was we picking on Victor. And like I said, we begged and pleaded with him to come into compliance and just couldn't get there. So,
Thank you, Larry. If there's,
I will just say, I think it's mercy for us to order the demolition. Okay, I know that's not what you want to hear. I think Mr. Franks is probably like most business people looking for a good deal. I don't think that's what you'd get, okay? Because this building is a liability. Mr. Amon, who said 50,000, I could see that. I don't think most business people would put 50,000 into such a small square footage. I think they could spend that money better elsewhere. So I think you would probably get more for the property after it's demolished, okay?
Pardon my question.
No, it's a public hearing.
Is it in your jurisdiction to decide who wants to
Purchase it?
how people invest their money?
No, but it's not our job to direct people's money.
Okay, because obviously, Mr. Stanley Frank, I get his name confused. Stanley Franks or Frank Stanley?
Stanley Franks.
He has bought other buildings, and the property that he bought across the Reyna's car shop, it is in pretty bad shape as well, correct? And he bought it nonetheless. There was no impediment.
It wouldn't
How is this
surprise me
different?
if he is in the sights of building and standards. If I were a betting man, I would bet personal money, he has probably got properties that are being looked at and he's being talked to about those properties. Somebody want to correct me?
Didn't you say earlier he's got 3 cases?
We've sent
Yes,
notices
3.
on, the hotel is unsecured, it's in violation. You know, condemning the hotel and large structures is once we do that, the city takes on the financial liability for its demolition. So a structure of that size, unfortunately, has some other considerations to be taken into by the city. So the demolition of that hotel is a multi-million-dollar demolition.
And my understanding is he's hired people to do some of that without doing proper asbestos abatement. He is at risk for being sued, okay, in my opinion. If I thought he had any money and I was representing somebody that was asked to do that, I think he could be sued. Now, I'm probably way out there on a limb, but I'm trying to give you good counsel, and I think it is superior to let us proceed with the demolition of this building. I don't see that it is.
Sir, my concern with this is we don't have money to pay for the demolition.
If we demolish it, the council will have to decide whether or not to issue a lien on the property. And so there isn't necessarily any direct financial liability other than it possibly being the lien filed. Should the council deem not to file the lien, the property could transfer.
Without payment of the lien.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So the city would take over my complete property?
No, what I'm saying is that is once we demolish the structure, the council has to decide whether or not they want to issue the lien for the cost. If the council does not issue the lien, you still have clean property to sell. If they issue the lien, then some sort of settlement has to be made with the city before the property can transfer. So I guess to be blunt is the council would decide whether or not they want you to pay for the demolition or not. If they order demolition, they then have the decision on whether or not we eat the cost as a community service or whether they want to issue the lien against the property.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but normally a lien is put on it, and then a lot of times that lien is forgiven by council because there is an opportunity to sell it. So we definitely,
What if the sale of the
we-
land does not cover the lien?
right, we would forgive that lien,
We would release it for no cost, knowing that it's being sold.
that it's being, so that, it's just a benefit for us to get more businesses or whatever and some of the vacant lots restored. We've done that many times, released a lien. But normally we do, we do put a lien on it for the demolition cost, or maybe the tipping fee or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Is that confusing? I mean, do you understand what the mayor was talking about the lien?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
okay, all right.
What if I repair it?
You talking about that building? Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't even start trying to repair it. It's in bad shape. I mean, the gaps between the concrete blocks and the cracked concrete blocks, the roof, you name it.
May I see what you're looking at?
You can come up
Come
and look
on
at
up.
my machine, yeah. I'll show you some of the pictures.
I know it's your property, but I went down and looked at the building.
Okay, that's the biggest part. The roof's totally gone. And you can see you got metal girders and you have rust, okay?
And they would have to be replaced
So, and then this is all of the
the other way.
order stuff, but, you can see, as you know, that's not a very big footprint. That is a very small building. It's got vertical height. But then you're gonna see in this next picture, you got a corner where
That's a corner.
so much of this is gone, you gotta get an engineer to sign off on it. Most engineers are not gonna sign off on that, okay? That's why this guy came and said 50,000. I can see 50,000 might do that, okay? But I wouldn't put $50,000 in that structure. I would try to sell the lot. But yeah, and
I priced a lot. That's, that won't even pay for the demolition.
what did you pay for this originally? If you don't-
25,000.
25, yeah. I know you have hope riding on this, and hope is a good thing, but I would suggest you, I would look somewhere else.
And honestly, I think it's probably a good time to close the public hearing. I mean, unless anyone else has anything to say. If there's anyone else that would like to speak,
So here you got more cracks in the center block.
we've had plenty, so
and-
I'm gonna go ahead and close the
What
public
is this?
hearing.
What part is that?
Where you see Rainus,
That's in the front,
where you see the
Okay.
RS,
yeah.
that is.
We're gonna go ahead and go forward.
That's up here.
And at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and entertain a motion. If anyone wants to make a motion.
I move to approve resolution R-009-23, declaring the structure located at 631 Deal condemned and requiring any and all occupant to immediately vacate the structure.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And it passes. And moving on to item 13, consider and take appropriate action to receive the Borger Police Department's 2022 racial profiling report. Chief Davis.
Mrs. Mayor, council members, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Since 2001, law enforcement agencies in Texas are required by law to collect data and report it annually to our licensing agency, the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, as well as our governing body in the area of racial profiling or bias-based policing. During the collection of the data, we review and analyze it to ensure that there are no concerns or issues that need to be investigated. In addition to the required data collection, analysis, and other statutory requirements from the state, we've also followed additional suggestions for analysis that were outlined in a training that I was able to attend as a part of New Chief School that was taught by Dr. Alejandro Del Carmen, who's a recognized expert in this field. Through the required collected data analysis, which is attached to your council packet, you will see the evidence of the Borger Police Department's continued commitment to comply with the racial profiling requirements. The required information, as well as the additional analysis to the requirements as recommended to Texas agencies by Dr. Del Carmen, I am pleased with the results that show our officers are not engaging in bias-based policing or racial profiling. The police department meets and exceeds all requirements in data collection, analysis, reporting, policy, as well as a complaint process for investigations into allegations in this area. Bias-based policing or racial profiling is wrong and strictly prohibited by our police department, as there is no place for it in law enforcement. It absolutely will not be tolerated by this agency. The officers and staff of the Borger Police Department remain committed to providing the most professional and best police service as possible to our community. I'm happy to entertain any questions from the council in reference to our report.
Thank you, Chief.
This council has high confidence in this police department. It has been aggressive when police officers have not been where they should be,
Absolutely.
as you have. I say to the public, this council fully supports our police, and we're not tolerant of racism, okay, in any form.
Absolutely.
And we're confident that you are not doing any of that, and you have hard numbers to back that up and comply with the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement's racial profiling. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, if the average citizen wanted a copy of this report, can they come here or come to you and get a copy?
Yes, absolutely. So it's available online under the council packet that's on our website.
Okay.
We'll put up an individual link on the homepage
Yes.
to link to the files.
But then they can also.
But it is in the packet.
They can also come to the police department. We're
Okay.
happy to provide that to them as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
No.
there's no action to that, is there?
Well, you
Well, yeah, I guess
you need
there is. Yeah, we
to
do.
receive it
Okay,
and
I'm
approve
sorry.
it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to accept as submitted the Borger Police Department's 2022 racial profiling report.
Second.
And all in favor? And it's accepted. And we'll move on to item number 14. Receive a presentation by Robert, you're going to tell me his last name.
Katia.
Gatillo, okay. With the
Gatillo.
audit firm Singleton Clark on the fiscal year 2021 audit. Mr.
We just call him
President,
Rob.
Okay, good to know.
And as you know, we're a bit behind where we normally like this after, of course, we had put out for RFP and engaged Singleton Clark to start in 2022. And in that time, our previous auditor, Larry Anderson, had a stroke and had some medical complications that prevented him and being unable to finish the 2021 audit. Rob and Singleton Clark have quasi come to our rescue, as we couldn't find anybody else to do it, and since they're already here, they've been really helping us out, and we're finally getting to the tail end of that, and I'll let Rob take it from there.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
As the city manager said, my name is Robert Gatillo, and I'm with Singleton Clark and Company, the city's independent auditor, new independent auditor. Thank you for this time on the agenda. It's a pleasure to join you. So I'm here to discuss the city's audit for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2021. I'm going to try to be brief in my remarks, but in being brief, don't intend to overlook or omit anything that I think you need to be aware of related to the audit. I try to focus on items that are significant and relevant to the audit itself, rather than have an operational conversation with you, but there is one item that does have a bit of an operational theme. So when I sit down to think about what to discuss with you, I start with the big three. Unless we've been asked to discuss anything else, the big three being the type of opinion that was issued and what it means. The second set is kind of an aggregation. So did we have any findings? Did we have any management comments? How many adjustments did we have? Collectively, what they mean, and then what they mean in relation to how we got to our opinion. And then the third item is kind of a calculated reserves and your general funds ending unassigned fund balance. It's a measure of kind of general health of, the city's fund of last resort. If anyone has any questions at any point, feel free to stop me. If anyone has any questions in relation to anything I don't discuss, I'll be happy to try to answer those questions. So I'll start with the opinion. So the opinion is a letter at the front of the report. It's a couple pages long. It summarizes what we did and what we concluded. For us as your auditor, it could be considered the most important part of the packet itself. That being said, you've got financials, footnotes, supplementary information. I'm sure that users generally think of those items as being more important, but without the opinion, you don't have a context, a structure, you don't have support. So we perform the audit, we perform substantive procedures, analytic procedures, we look at compliance, and then after that, we generate the opinion letter. The opinion more or less says, after having performed the audit, we believe that the information in the report is fairly stated in all material respects and presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. The letter is referred to technically as unmodified. The unmodified speaks to the letter itself and that it hasn't been changed in any way, so there are no exceptions, no but-fors, no scope limitations, no emphasis on the matter paragraphs. It's commonly referred to as a clean opinion. It's what you want to receive. It's what you will receive when we finalize the process. So then the question is, how did we get to it? Is it difficult to get to a clean opinion? In my career, I've only once issued anything but a clean opinion. That seems strange. And so then the question is, how did we get to it? And so we go into the second set of items as far as findings, management letter comments, adjustments is the how. So as far as findings, there are two main types. We can have compliance findings, so material, instance of material noncompliance or just noncompliance. We can have control findings. And so unfortunately, for the year under audit, 9/30/2021, there was one finding. It's a compliance finding. It's fairly benign. It's not an instance of material noncompliance. It relates to pledge collateral. So in April of 2021, the city's high cash balance was about $9.5 million, and the associated collateral, including FDIC, was about $6.5 million. The idea is, and this is a state requirement in relation to PFIA, that had the bank failed, you would have forfeited $3 million. The bank didn't fail. You didn't forfeit $3 million, but the statute stands to try and protect you against that. And in relation to the finding, my recommendation would be move your cash around or raise your collateral.
And can I stop you there and just ask Garrett a question? This is where you've already informed us about, it was because it was
It was the dome debt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
issued the debt payment. The debt payment was deposited into the bank account instead of directly into tax
Yeah.
pool.
Okay.
And so really for us, the underlying issue was a procedural issue.
Right.
The non-compliance was for one day because it hit the bank and the next day it got transferred into tax
Tax,
pool.
yeah.
But like Rob said, it is a
Right.
technical non-compliance and we have
Absolutely.
adjusted.
Absolutely.
We have adjusted our procedures to account for that. I now know the procedure at Emerald National to increase collateral should we want to do it that way. But we've also talked in finance, we can wire directly into tax pool. Next time we issue debt, it'll just go in straight to tax pool. We transfer money from tax pool regularly to cover operations. That's what we do. We put it in tax pool so we maximize our interest.
Right.
And then as we need it, we move it. So that's,
Perfect. I just want to make sure I understood, because,
and because we're so far behind, he's probably going to give us that same finding in 2022 when we issued the 10th Street debt.
I haven't looked at the comprehensive.
But that's good attention to detail.
yes,
And we need to be,
Yeah.
this council wants to be fully compliant.
Yeah,
We
for
like
sure.
good report cards on audits. And we like firms that look. And so
Sure,
We're
everyone does
held
it,
accountable,
and we
we hold
should.
Garrett accountable, so.
I will say that, that one happened before I was in this chair, so just,
But next year.
but based on what's on the, you know, the review later, I just throw that out there.
So as far as the second set of, the second item would be management letter comments. We refer to them as written items. It's things that we encounter, and they come in two general flavors. One of which is a perceived inadequacy related to your controls and procedures as they exist. The second would be a lack of adherence to your policies. And so you set policy, if it's not adhered to, we would notify you of that. And so we did have 3 items, and they all fall under the perceived inadequacy. They relate to credit cards, ACHs and EFTs, and revenue. And we've discussed this with finance from the city manager extensively, and so I won't labor through it. But the city, as far as credit cards in fiscal year '21, did have an attachment that you don't generally see. As auditors, we don't like credit cards. They're a very risky method of purchasing. They really should be used as a matter of convenience rather than as a general method of. And so I believe that is changing. Part of the problem with doing 2 audits simultaneously or concurrently is there's not enough time to get past certain things. So traditionally, I wouldn't see you for a year again, and so then we would talk about the progress that's been made. But and for the fact that we're doing these simultaneously, I can't really speak to that yet. As far as ACHs and EFTs, you have a signature card, or electronic medium for signing checks. ACHs and EFTs, there's no observable segregation. And so I'd like to see two parties involved relative to that process.
Oh, okay.
And then as far as revenue, for us as auditors, we don't
So
like.
you're saying, I'm sorry, I just want to understand, because I know we do on checks, so this is when money is coming by wire or whatever.
When we pay some vendors by EFT, which is electronic fund transfer.
Okay.
And so the way that the accounting software does is it creates the file, and the same person that creates the file can send the file to the bank.
But these are things that have been corrected.
Right, we-
Okay. And I must say, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but this is the most informative audit I have ever sat through, and I'm on my 9th year. And I've never heard any of all I've ever heard was this fairly stated. So I appreciate this.
You're welcome. I can't speak to that, but
I'm sorry. I mean,
a wise man.
it's not uncommon with a successor to have comments. And so it's certainly nothing, that is strange for you or any, entity that we deal with. And when you have a changeover, different perspective, different things, that we have concerns about, but we have things that, we want to hit, things that we want to see. And so it's an expression, of that at this point, because you have, to a certain extent, one chance to make these comments, and then we move forward. And
Yeah,
so
excellent.
just trying to say our piece, I guess,
Appreciate
the
it.
first year. So the other item was revenue. And I generally don't ask an entity to do things on our behalf or for the sake of the audit, but we do need simultaneously the ability to observe things. And so relative to revenue, I would very much like to see, related to where you have transactional activity, point of sale reports, them being reviewed, certainly reviewed by whatever person is, running a register, and potentially management review, where we've got commutation, a refund, an alteration, a pipe breaks, and we've got, a bill that's thousands of dollars. When you change citation to community service, there really ought to be something that's observable, whether it's in the moment or a monthly summary where someone is signing off and saying these changes are appropriate. It's not someone, altering something where they shouldn't have. You generally are going to have a preparer and a reviewer, where you've got that segregation where it's not just a single person doing something, in all respects.
And did you say that has been rectified?
We're
It's
in the
not
process of doing
observable.
it.
Okay.
So
I know
it's
the
not a
credit
matter
cards
of,
have
that I say it's not, it's not observable. So you've got to generate reports, I've got to be able to see signatures, I've got to be able to see sign-offs.
A lot of those are procedures, you know, a lot of that is what I call passive right now. So like supervisors will review audit logs and, you know, refund logs, but we're not documenting that there was the two-part review.
I see.
And so some of that's like going to point of sale software at the concession stand so that we can keep track of cash and things like that. But then someone needs to run the report, verify the report, sign it, and
Makes sense.
and
Okay.
document it, and that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
Especially where cash is present, you know, contemplation of an overshort, you know, different things like that, but. So the last set, you know, for this second item would be the number of audit adjustments. And so if we're talking about how we got to fairly stated in all material respects and presented in accordance with GAAP, it's going to be how many adjustments did we need to do? And for the city, it was 8, and for the EDC, it was 2. So for an entity this size, for a city this size, I would say less than 15 is good, 10 very good, you know, 5 moving towards 0 would be excellent. I don't have any concerns with, you know, 8. I honestly expected it, you know, maybe to be more, so I think it's very good. So then collectively, as far as if item number 2 speaks to item number 1, one finding but fairly benign, you know, 3 writtens, but those are just for us, you know, here to discuss and contemplate and hopefully, you know, progress from, and then 8 adjustments and then 2 for the EDC. I think you got to a clean opinion well, and it's a good start. Things generally improve, you know, year over year over year, and so I don't think we'll be able to discuss that until we get to 23, but I think you got to a clean opinion well. So as far as my third item that I generally discuss with you, and this is to a certain extent an operational conversation, but it is post-audit adjustment. We usually look at what you've got in unassigned fund balance in the general fund and do a calculation and speak to whether we think it's appropriate. As a general rule, we say you should have between 3 and 6 months. I believe you have a policy that's 28%. It's the same idea, just expressed as a percentage rather than a number of months. So 3 would be 25, 6 would be 50. What we do is take total expenditures for the fiscal year last audited, divide by 12, come up with an average monthly amount. We do not include other uses, so nothing below the line. A lot of times we exclude capital outlay. It's not generally consistent year over year. I left it in, it was fairly small. So on average in fiscal year 21, you spent $1.1 million. The ending unassigned fund balance was 5.9, which means you had 5.3 months. It's 45%. You managed to put $1.5 million into fund balance for the year. It was a very good year. So if 1.1 was the average monthly amount and you put 1.5, you put more than month into. So for 20, and I didn't do the math, I just imputed, it was 4 months, give or take, you were above your 28%. So that's all I have as far as prepared remarks. I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone that helped us with the audit. So Finance Department, Scott, Christy, Sarah, Court, Payroll, Utility Department, you know, everyone that we dealt with, we certainly appreciate everyone's help. It's a lot of work, I'm sure. That everyone's happy it's almost over, but we're doing 22 right now too. So, and thank you for allowing us to serve as your independent auditor. We certainly appreciate it. So in summary, clean opinion, gotten to well, 1 finding, fairly benign, you know, 3 writtens, 8 adjustments, 2 for the EDC, and a healthy general fund balance. Does anyone have any questions related to the audit?
No,
Thank you for
so
the
much.
information.
I do want to, being a former teacher, I try to make things understandable by students. We have a college class here. They understand an A, a B, and a C. And I realize in auditing, you really don't do that, okay? And I'm afraid of a C because I'm not real happy with this, although I'm sure a lot of cities would love to be where we're at. So will you give us a rating in ABC format? And you're free to qualify it in any fashion.
So as an auditor, at least for me personally, I try not to give praise. That's not what the audit is about for us. It's about fairly stated in all material respects. I've been asked this question in different forms, and I generally decline answering it, certainly in a public forum. Informally, if we were sitting in a conference room, I might speak to it. I'll give you this. Going forward in the future, no findings, no comments, 0 adjustments, A.
Sounds fair. And thank you for your hard work.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for,
We will see you again,
thank you for
obviously
being so
this year
thorough.
and hopefully longer.
Yes.
Well, and when he started, he didn't even have an assistant, so he's finally gotten his assistant hired back, and, you know, I know we probably have driven Rob crazy some and been somewhat of his stress, but we appreciate him putting up with us, and for what it's worth, he's received a little bit of Borger swag for his effort.
I appreciate that you took us through this, because personally, I have never had that through the audit before. And I mean, I'm so thankful for that. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And I'm not reflecting on past auditors, I don't think, but maybe I am, but, sorry.
I will say I have requested a change of auditor several years ago, but
I'm a newbie, so
I didn't move the needle.
Well, I'm impressed, so I'm just saying, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
No.
Appreciate you.
Very much.
And there is no action to be taken. This was just a
Presentation.
presentation, yes. And then next is going to be item 15, consider and take appropriate action on the following regarding the May 6th general election. Mrs. Sauls.
Well, since we have no opposed candidates, we have two things. We have the unopposed certification of unopposed candidates to present, as well as an order to cancel the city election, since we did call it.
Anyone have anything?
Cut and dry.
If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to receive certificate of unopposed candidate and approve the order of cancellation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And it passes. And item 16 is we will adjourn into executive session in compliance with Chapter 551, Texas Government Code, Open Meetings Law. The council will retire into executive session related to Section 551.074 personnel matters. Discuss the employment, annual evaluation, dismissal, and/or compensation package of the city manager. So we will return. Thank y'all. in executive session. But at this time, we're going to move on to item 17, consider and take appropriate action on the employment, evaluation, dismissal, and/or compensation package of the city manager. And we've discussed many things back there, but mostly that we have a city manager that we absolutely do not want to lose.
Amen.
He has done so much for the city, and just some of the things that I can think of is the realignment of our of employment that he has taken care of, and things that are going so well, and the dome during a post-COVID problem that he had to deal with, so many just amazing things, and we're just thrilled to have him. And so I'll entertain a motion,
Okay.
but you can say whatever you want to. Anybody want to say anything first?
We can wax eloquent before or after.
Well, you can
We're
go
gonna
ahead and
put some
come.
real money towards this waxing eloquent. Garrett has done a great job for us. We're not really in fear of him leaving immediately, but we recognize he's underpaid, and we kind of got him real cheap to begin with. He might partially sold himself cheap, and we were cheap at the time, so we took him at cheap. Okay, now we're gonna give him a salary that's gonna put him up where he needs to be, with the idea we would love to retain him. He is, having talked to other mayors and other city councils, city managers can make a $100,000 mistake real easy, okay? And it would be fairly forgivable. Eddie and Garrett, as long as I've known them, have saved this city their salary every year by being shrewd, by being smart, by doing their homework. I've never seen a wasteful expenditure out of them. So, and I'll let the rest of the council praise him as well. He is deserving of praise, and I intend to, in discussion, introduce a motion. Do y'all want to talk before or after the motion?
Well,
I done said all the
yeah,
said.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I would like to say also, though, you know, just like beginning a new audit, a new auditor in the middle of an audit, and, you know, that takes not shying away from that. That is, actually, I think what I want to do is explain, because we are also going to give Garrett a bonus. And I want people to understand that, you know, there is some things that have happened in this last year that have been an incredible challenge that he has walked up to and taken them and ran with them. And one of them being the EMS, where he took the lead on that, and he took the lead for the county and for Fritch, the city of Fritch. He took the lead. He gave every one of those organizations the information to make a thorough and decision, and that is saying a lot. I mean, that's very important to our citizens, an EMS, and he gave us every information that we needed, not just the city of Borger, but the city of Fritch and this county. And he gets questioned by a lot of regional cities, because he is very knowledgeable about things, and those are things that puts us as a lead in our region. And I just I appreciate what he's done, and I appreciate that I appreciate his character. I believe he has a strong character. I believe he has a strong will for, or maybe I said the wrong word, for his employees. I know for a fact, because we have realigned many salaries to adjust the fact that he wants people to succeed. He wants them to stay in this business, and he wants to see success for his employees. And I just think there's just so much I could say that I see. And that's not to say that I don't see these things in other employees. I feel like we have a fabulous staff right now, just tremendous in every department, and I'm just so thankful. I guess that's all I'm going to say. Sorry.
I knew there'd be gushing.
Well, I'd like to add,
Well-deserved praise.
I'd like to add this, I'm a newbie here, I've not worked under another city manager, but he has impressed me with everything that he's done, his work ethic, his ingenuity of bringing people up and rewarding them openly, or maybe just by a pat on the back, but making them feel important and valued. I'm going to quote a couple of scriptures here. It says, one is that a workman is worthy of his hire, and he's worked hard to make this city profitable. And not only for himself, but for the community. The whole community should just basically stand and give him ovations. I mean, just literally, it's like, I'd stand up right now, but can't always see me anyway. And another is that it says, you muzzle not the ox as he treads out the grain. And he's been working at this treadmill at a steady pace. He's going and going and going. He's exceeded everything that... He's more than exceeded my expectations. I think he's exceeded the expectations of the community. So he's worth every penny, if not more, than what we're about to ask him to receive. It's in my opinion. Anyway.
Believe it or not, I'm going to be short and sweet.
I was just sweet.
It's hard to believe that. No, I just want to say one thing. I mean, the work he has put in for the city of Borger, the citizens, it's just been super. I've been here for quite a while, and I just, the way the city is financially, what we have been trying to accomplish here on different projects has been taken care of, and his leadership qualities has been superb, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
He's a man with a vision.
Yeah.
And it's not a rent-a-vision either.
Great.
He's bought it.
Okay, my college students are gone, but executive session, you can discuss a lot, but you can't make decisions. Okay, any decisions that are discussed there have to be made public, and I'm getting ready to make the public motion where a decision will be made. I move to increase the city manager's salary from step 2 to step 5 in his current contract, which is a 9% increase in pay. Increase his car allowance by $150 a month, and provide him a one-time bonus of $7,500 for all of the extraordinary stuff like the Dome EMS.
You through?
I'm through.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And it passes.
Well, I appreciate that, and, I just want to thank y'all for your confidence, and, a lot of what we're doing is empowered by this council. And so, without your support and the support of the staff, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. And I'm, grateful for all that opportunities, and, just for those that I can't not say this, but, in addition to all of this, the biggest skeptics, we as a team have increased efficiency and brought down that tax rate in the last 3 years. And so, I think we're on the right path. We've definitely had some challenges, and I've definitely taken some criticism and some complaints during processes, but I take solace in the fact that once everything gets done, it's almost all been positive on the backside. And we're about to, I've talked to this council before, we're about to get a little bit of heat as we tear up 10th Street. Nobody likes road construction, but when it's done, I have no doubt that they'll be as happy with that as they were with the Dome. And I'm glad that I've bought another day to where nobody wants to hang me from the new street light that we're going to put up. So I've joked with city staff that that's my goal, is not to get hung from one of those new ones. And I'll just kind of conclude my gratitude with, I thought it was funny here just the other day, we're upgrading some furniture with some of the changes going in plan and development, and the candy drawer was getting low, and so somebody came in and asked me, they heard that I didn't want to get rid of that I wanted to get rid of the candy drawer, and so before they went and got some more, they wanted to know if I wanted to get rid of the candy drawer, and I was like, You do realize that if I got rid of the candy drawer, I'd be like a dead man walking.
Yes, yes.
And the funny thing is I was talking with Terry, and I don't know if that's where the rumor started, but I was talking with Terry, and I know I can kind of be loud. I'm quiet when I'm not talking and I'm walking, because I always surprise people, but when I'm talking, you know, I guess I'm a little loud, and I was actually kind of being a smart rear about it, you know, saying, well, I think we need to get rid of it, mainly because I eat it. And it adds to my waste, not because, you know, I literally think it's a waste of money or not that, but the candy drawer buys me a little bit of goodwill with most of City Hall staff, and when I
Absolutely.
have to
And
push down
cancel.
something less favorable, I can, you know, send them to the candy drawer.
Yeah, for sure.
We got to get more Babe Ruths.
Amen.
Baby Ruth. Baby Ruth.
We got it on the list.
Okay, so I guess then if everybody's good, we'll move on to item 18, consider and take appropriate action to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned, and we appreciate all of y'all coming.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay.